Well, let's start with this. What's the adjustment been? I mean, I know you've had time with the franchise, but here, out of camp, what's it been like working with Josh and the other quarterbacks here at training camp?
I mean, anytime you can just get out and doing football again, but when you got a room like Josh, Bark, Case, you get Doris in there. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's not a hard adjustment. You're out playing football and letting them, throw the pigskin around. It's a lot of fun.
When you're working with a guy like Josh Allen, it's got to be different than if you were working with him in 2018 when he came here. You walk in, no guy's a finished product, but what's your mindset coming in with a guy like Josh, with what he's accomplished and where he wants to go?
Well, that's the thing about Josh is, even though he's done a lot in this league, he's always trying to get better, and so he's coachable, and he's one of those guys that he comes out and he's as competitive as can be. And look, Dorsey set a great mindset in that room. So those guys, they're not coming in with that mindset of, hey, I got it all figured out. They're asking the questions. They're coming out knowing that, hey, everyone in that room, we can learn something from one another. And so a guy like Josh, just to be as good as he is and still have that mindset is impressive.
Tell us a little bit about Case Keenum. We've seen him around the league, but now here and in the role he's in. Tell us something about him that maybe you're learning more as you're around him a little bit more.
Well, I mean, you love being around the guy. I mean, he's a pro's pro as it gets, and I know sometimes that can sound like that's not a good thing, but that is a great thing. Everyone loves being around him. It's hard to not like Case, but he's seen every coverage. He's been on a lot of different teams, so he's seen a lot of different things, and so he brings a lot of value in the room as a football player when he's out there making the throws, but also saying, hey, I've kind of seen this one way, or hey, what do you think of this footwork? So he just brings a lot, and that's why he's here.
Sean was asked today about you. And Sean's been pretty open in all of our conversations with him about the time when Andy Reid let him go. And he was asked about what it does to a coach and how you respond to it. And you're in that circumstance where it happened to you. He said, I guess Sean's line was, he was told, you're not really a coach until that happens to you.
Right.
What did it do, and how have you handled that and reacted and now be in the position that you're in?
Well, obviously it's one thing that you never want to do. I didn't do my job well enough, and but I kind of lucked out into in my eyes, a promotion from that standpoint. But you take a step back and you look at what your blind spots are and what you can continue to work on. But from a confidence standpoint, from a learning, I've been so fortunate where I've been in my careers, but it was definitely a little speed bump. But I'm never stopped learning. But it was tough. I'm not going to lie, but it's a great situation where I'm in now.
Any of us can be in that spot. Was there somebody in particular that helped you when that happened? Because you've had a lot of success, and then it's got to be a jolt where all of a sudden it's not your choice. Like what's happening. Was there somebody in particular you reached out to?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, the support across the league was incredible. I mean, it shows, look, and when you're in the coaching profession, it's the reality of it is you're, like you say, like Coach said, you're going to get fired at some point, or but just the outreach of just coaches just reaching out to me, and that was probably the most. She's now my wife. She was my fiance at the time that I got to spend a lot of time with her. So she realizes how much she enjoys me actually coaching during season and not on the outside. But so not necessarily reaching out, but just a great time to just kind of sit back and reflect.
In terms of play calling, a lot's been made. Obviously, Brian Daboll called the plays here. Can you let us in a little bit, and maybe kind of the way you guys do it? Because he always talked about the collaborative part of play calling and how that works. You've been a play caller. Now you've got Ken, who here is going to have that opportunity. How does that work, and what can you bring as a quarterback's coach, but who's a guy who's done that before, to help in that process?
Yeah, I think the best staffs that you're on, there's never that one guy that just thinks he has all the answers, and this might be the best staff I've ever been a part of. Just in terms of guys understanding, hey, their role, but just wanting to help and bring any ideas that they can, but also understanding what our identity is. It's one thing when you bring, I just came from another system. If I come and say, hey, I think this, and this, well, is that who we are as the Buffalo Bills? And so, as much as I can help, as I will, and I think Dorsey, he's open to that. And I think some of the great coordinators, just like, Dave's kind of talked about, is that collaboration, being open to taking ideas and kind of running with it.
One last thing. I just want to go back to Josh a little bit. Did you know Josh at all? Did you have any relationship with him before you came here?
I did not. Obviously him and Sam Darnold being really close friends. So we've talked, obviously heard a lot about Josh, and you follow all the quarterbacks in the career, but outside of that, I did not.
So what has surprised you? Maybe is that the right word? Or what has he done that even other people telling you maybe you didn't realize until you got here?
Well, I mean, you know how you obviously see what he can do on the football. He does on the football field. I mean, that speaks for itself. But to me, just seeing his recall seeing, there's sometimes where you're sitting back as a coach and you're like, all right, I don't know if that safety got off the hash, and he's able to see it, and then 4 plays later you can come back and, hey, on that play that safety did that, or hey, that linebacker did this, and it's impressive, and that's a trait that's really hard. A lot of times people talk about just football intelligence, or is he a smart football player, but can I remember what happened so that the next time that happens I know where to go with the ball, and I think Josh does an elite job at that.
And I lied, I got one more.
That's how it works.
Dayball used to always talk about how we would say, when do you get on him? When does this? And he would always talk about how Josh knew what he did almost before they even had talked about it, and he takes it to heart. Like even say today, a few of the balls get knocked down, and maybe. What is he like in that way, and is that always a good thing for him?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great thing. Like, I played wide receiver in college. There was nothing worse than you drop a ball and your coach says, "Hey, you got to catch it." I didn't try to drop it, and so there's a time and a place. We obviously, it's my job as a coach. If you didn't have coaches, then if we weren't going to have any feedback, then what's the point of a coach? But there's also a time and a place. You understand the stuff that's given when he comes off the field and he's kind of understands what he did. You can kind of give him a space and let him kind of talk, and then then we'll kind of get after it again. So it's a relationship that we're growing. I asked Doris, hey, how do you approach this with him, because he knows him better than anybody in that. And so our relationship will grow from that standpoint. But even in practice every day, I kind of get a feel of, hey, after a good throw, how does he look? Hey, after a throw that he wants it again, hey, how does he respond to that? And so I'm learning every day as well.